Yo, what up, y'all? It is Nick White, and I am back. It is episode 3 of the Dead Man's Mic podcast, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast, talking about all things HHN, whether it's Orlando, Hollywood. You know how we do it. We talk about it. And tonight I am joined by a special guest. I have my good friend Rebecca here from, what's the name of your platform?
I'm Weird.wild.wonderful on Instagram. It's a whole
That's
thing.
it.
We'll show you in post.
It's a whole thing, but you'll understand.
It's a whole
It's
thing.
all theme parks and other things. I feel like you post other things too. Within the Florida
Yeah,
area, you cover a lot of cool stuff.
I have way too many interests to just condense into one or two things. Luckily for
Yeah.
me, HHN is one of those things I love to focus on.
Oh yeah, like hands down. That I mean, that's what I
Absolutely.
feel like. I feel like HHN is kind of what helped to shape all of our profiles. To be honest with you, I really do.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
it's really what kind of did that. I don't know.
There is just something about it, whether it's getting hyped for HHN, remembering previous years, being at HHN. There is just something about it where, yeah, it's fundamental, baked into our like social media DNA of this is who I am. Welcome
Right,
to the show.
exactly. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
This is what we do. And so, I mean, with that being said, before we really hop into it, because there's a lot to unpack, there's a lot going on in the HHN world right now. I feel like the last time we filmed an episode of Dead Man's Mic, we didn't even have a house announcement yet. Like, we didn't even have Fallout yet. I think it was like a week prior.
Oh
So
wow.
there's a lot to unpack, but I would like to know, what drew you to Halloween Horror Nights? Like, what pulled you into that event?
So I am a very bad Florida person. No, like
Okay.
I've lived in the sense I've lived here for 10 years, but I've only started doing HHN since HHN 30, I think. Yeah, 30 years, 30
You
years.
just started not too
Um,
long ago.
yeah, I'm an HHN baby, but I love it so much. However, previously I had always wanted to go, like when The Walking Dead had all their houses, and it just never happened. But now that I live close enough to drive there and come home and sleep in my own bed, it's like, here's my favorite thing to do for 2.5 months out of the year. Like,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
because
I've
what
told
else
the
am I gonna
story.
do?
No, and I completely understand that. Like I have told the story plenty of times, but to sum it all up, being in St. Louis and having Fright Fest is one thing. And then what happens is you go down a YouTube warp as a kid when you don't have the money to travel to Florida anytime you want. And then you find Halloween Horror Nights. I never looked at Fright Fest the same. And that's nothing against Fright Fest. Like Fright Fest
Oh,
started
right,
off
right.
for, but HHN changed my life. Single-handedly changed my life. I didn't know I'd be on a podcast or have any of this kind of stuff. Like HHN did that. So I started going 31. So I'm only a year after you. I've been watching everything and making sure that I stay up on it since probably HHN 20. I feel like is when I started really like paying attention. So I feel like
Yeah.
I've been there forever, but like 31 was when I started. I tried to go to 30 and then COVID, happened and pulled everything. And we had tickets, we had everything purchased, ready to go, and they refunded
Oh,
everything. Sent us an email and told us, "Hey, we're gonna try again next year." And so that was heartbreaking, but I do not regret anything. I feel like my first HHN will always be very memorable for me. And had a blast out there, man. Like it was so worth the wait. I've been waiting like 12, 13 years to go to HHN. You finally make it down there and you're like, oh yeah,
yes.
I won't miss another
Yeah.
one of these.
Oh, no, it is an
Yeah.
annual event now. You're like, I found my space, I found my people, and here you go with
Yep.
your podcast, and this creative juice is flowing. It's weird to call it inspirational, but like it is inspirational because now you're getting motivated to do all these other bigger, greater things because of
Yeah, no,
HHN.
it's inspirational. And I mean, I feel like as a kid in my family, we would always travel, down to we would do Disney almost every year. It's just like a big family vacation because I've always been a big theme park head. So me as a kid, like Universal being right down the street from Disney, SeaWorld being right there, Busch Gardens being in Tampa, I didn't want to go anywhere else. So it made total sense to go there. But I always got in this mindset of like Halloween Horror Nights is in October, like September and October. How is it possible for us to go there during that time of year? You know what I'm saying? Like you're in school, everybody's
Right.
busy. Man, I don't care. I'm not missing another one of those.
You're gonna figure it out and make it work.
Exactly. And speaking of, okay, so HHN 30, I wasn't at 30, so I can't talk about 30, but I can talk about 31. What was your favorite
Mhm.
house from 31? And then we'll go into it. But I want to pick your brain. I want to know what your favorite house was from 31.
Let me Google really fast because it's
Okay,
been
we
a
love a
number of.
Google search.
Okay. Oh, Legends Collide was that year?
Collide
I
was
was
that
like, where
year.
are
Yep,
they? Collide was that year. Halloween, Blumhouse. Oh, that was the year of the Weekend House
it
and
was.
Winter's Wake. Okay. Oh, that's a tough one because Dead Man's Pier and the Weekend House, both completely different vibes, but I loved them both so much.
Perfect. Perfect.
Um, I'll elaborate. Okay. Because the Weekend House was you were going into the music videos. You were in the world of the weekend. It was like a
Right.
party, but like weird.
Right.
And then Dead Man's Pier was just beautiful and just the depth and everything about that house. You walk in, you're freezing cold, everything's ice. I think about that
Yep.
house at least once a week. At least
I
once a week.
I go back and watch it quite often. Um, when I'll put it this way, because we're talking about those two houses, which were undoubtedly my favorite two. And I'll say when it came to Winter's Wake, that is the house that inspired the name behind our podcast. It is the house that inspired
Yes.
this overlay that you see, the dark trees, the darker colors, everything like that. The inspiration comes from that house because being a haunt actor myself, when I walked in there and saw the detail, it was raining inside. They created an atmosphere. I did not feel like I was at
Yes.
Universal anymore. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably shed a couple while I was in there because I was just like, dude, this is amazing. Like I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, that was breathtaking, and then I didn't find out until after the fact that there were the accompanying podcasts and all of this additional lore, but had I known that beforehand, I would have appreciated the house so much more. However, the flip side of
Right,
that coin is now I know, and now I'm just, like, diving headfirst into, "Okay, I need to know everything." I
right.
need I need it. Like
No, I understand because when it came to the weekend, I will say it. The weekend was never, and I mean never, one of my favorite music artists. I didn't have a problem with him, but he was never like one of my favorite music artists. He wasn't. And so
Right.
when they announced that they were going to do a haunted house about the weekend, I was one of those. I was one of those. I was like, why? Why are we? No, this isn't what it's about. Like we're being too experimental. Like this is not what it's about. And it was undoubtedly one of the best haunted houses I've ever been through. I watch it all the time on YouTube. And the weekend is one of my favorite artists now. Fast forward, that haunted house drove me to go back and listen to all of his music, especially the After Hours album. Listen and learn the
Yeah.
story, the lore, all that stuff. Like it makes sense as to why they did a haunted house. It makes
Yeah,
total
like
sense.
yeah, and my favorite thing about that house specifically now is I could be at Target, Walmart, grocery shopping, and the weekend comes on the overhead radio, and suddenly I'm just back
Mhm.
at HHN again. Like, this is great. I love it.
Yeah.
You never know
That
when it's
that's
gonna
what was
happen.
so cool about going to Hollywood last year, was that they did the Weekend Nightmare trilogy. So essentially a part 2 to After Hours Nightmare. And when you go, because you've been to Hollywood, but when you go to the lower lot, and as you're
Mhm.
coming down the escalators, the more the closer you get down there, you just hear his music everywhere. And I was like,
Oh, that sounds like
this will
so much
always
fun.
resonate HHN for me. Like it was
Yes.
perfect. It was such a good house
That
too. It
sounds
was very
awesome.
different than After Hours Nightmare. It was I feel like it was a little more dark. It wasn't as
Mhm.
much of a party. It was a party, but it was very dark. We were transitioning into something else, when you were going through the house, but
Yeah.
it was really tight though. Really tight.
It looked it. I saw
So
your footage every time you post it. I'm like, "That looks so cool. I'm so sad I missed it." Like,
yeah, it was an
yeah.
incredible house. It was an incredible house. So we got a lot to unpack. I know we could talk about 31 all night
I
long. We
know.
got
We really could.
we yeah. We got a lot to unpack. So let's let's hop right into one thing that I really want to hit on before we go into the event. Let's talk about Horror Unleashed out in Vegas. What
Okay.
we know, I want to say there are 3 houses, either 3 or 4: Universal Monsters, Exorcist Believer, Scarecrow the Reaping, and Texas Chainsaw, I think.
Hmm.
I think. I think. The biggest thing, I was listening to a podcast earlier today. I was listening to HHN365. Shout out to 365. Love them. They were talking about how they feel that now that we're getting true announcements surrounding HHN, that this is kind of drowning out the hype completely for Horror Unleashed. And not only that, but the fact that Scarecrow the Reaping, a house that has already taken place once before at HHN in Hollywood, is going to be a permanent house at Horror Unleashed in Vegas. And not only that, but it is more than likely going to be one of the houses again at Hollywood this year. What's your take on that? What do you think about that?
Um, I mean, admittedly, I kind of forgot about Horror Unleashed because we haven't heard anything for a while. So they might be onto
That's
something
where I
with
was.
that.
Yep.
Like, but also, do you think maybe there's a reason behind that? Do you think because everything just surrounding the HHN announcements feels weird this year because it's all taking so long. Normally, we've had
Yeah.
twice as many announcements, if not almost a whole lineup by now. So it just
Right.
feels off that we know next to nothing, but it's this massively anticipated event for both HHN and Horror Unleashed. So it's just like, what's the reason? It's gonna make sense eventually, but it's just like, why? I'm impatient. Like,
It will exactly
tell
like
me.
I feel that it will all make sense eventually, like you said. I think the biggest issue at hand is the fact that HHN, the rollout for the house announcements has just been off. It's been different. And I think it was mainly because of Epic on the Orlando side of things. I think that it was
Yeah,
because of Epic. Hollywood tends to have a mind of their own every year. Like I feel like Orlando will announce stuff throughout the summer, but Hollywood will unleash a bomb and give us everything in one day in August sometime and be like, all right, come out. So I don't,
right.
it's interesting.
It's a tough one because there have been years with Orlando where we've gotten house announcements for the next year on Halloween, like Chucky a couple years ago.
Right. Chucky,
HHN
yep.
on Halloween was like, "Oh, hey, guess what? Guess what? You're getting Chucky next year." I mean, it wasn't great, but like we still had something to look forward to, and it was like, "Yes, okay, cool." Um,
Right.
before I get sidetracked, since I'm already sidetracking myself.
Nah, you're good.
In regards to yeah, I sidetrack myself a lot, it happens.
Hey,
But, in regards to the choices for Horror Unleashed, like, I've never been through Scarecrow the Reaping, so as someone who, like, that would be new for me, that sounds really cool. But it kind of feels like with the IPs they've chosen and the original, they're going with safe. Something they've already
mm,
established, something that has a fan base, something that's already been loved, except for maybe Believer because, like, I wasn't really a fan of that house. But it's an IP that people know and will go and see regardless.
right.
So, given that things take time to grow, build, establish, make money, they're probably just being very safe for the first couple of years with their
Right.
choices of house before getting a little more experimental with it. At least that's what I would hope.
I feel like this is definitely more of a starter lineup, so to say.
Yeah.
I don't think that these are the permanent houses that we will see in probably 3 years. I think that
No.
this is going to pull people in the door, and then as soon as they really start running up the numbers and things like that, then we're going to start seeing a house get changed. Here and there. I don't see Scarecrow the Reaping hanging around forever, especially if it's
Right.
more than likely going to be a Hollywood again this year. So that's twice in what, probably I want to say like 2 or 3 years that house is taking
Oh,
place.
wow.
Yeah, and that's an original too. So that's saying something about the property. People love it because I love it. Like it's your classic Midwest farm backwood haunted house. Like that's exactly what that's what you think about.
Ooh.
Right.
Okay,
But it
yes,
but it but it
okay.
shall interesting. Now I know that they have announced Universal Monsters, and I cannot necessarily remember everything that they said about the story or about what monsters are in there, but if I'm not wrong, they said all of the Universal monsters will be a part of this house.
Huh.
And that was my reaction too, because I'm cool with that. I'm like, I like that. That's not bad. Mainly, what are we doing with Creature? Because I feel like Creature's not getting enough
Well,
love.
that's kind of
Creature
where
ain't getting
my
enough
mind
love.
went, like, 'cause he's not. He is not, and
No.
I think he deserves much more attention than he gets. But also, if they're including all of the monsters or allegedly all of the monsters, is
Right.
it going to be a walk through haunted house version of Monsters Unchained?
If that's the case, I got to figure out how to get there
Like,
opening
sign me
day.
up.
'Cause-
If
Yeah,
that is the
because
case,
Monsters
I need to
Unchained,
be there.
whew, that's a whole nother episode right there.
I could
Well,
talk all day about Monsters Unchained.
see,
Like,
that ride was sick, man. I'm telling you. Well,
worth probably
this
hurting
this could
myself
be
over. It's
interesting.
fine.
No, right. No, our bank accounts will be feeling that. I'm sure all of our bank accounts will.
For sure, for sure.
And I mean, Horror Unleashed I'm excited about the idea. Don't get me wrong. I'm very excited about the idea. But I do think that Horror Unleashed is not necessarily for the true HHN fans. Obviously, we can all go. We can all go out there and check it out. But I feel like Horror Unleashed is for those people that are walking down the strip in Vegas and they just so happen to look over to the left and see the building. I don't think that it's for the people that they know are buying tickets and going all out on HHN every year because we know these properties. So it's kind of like, who are they trying to capitalize on? I don't think it's us.
Right, it's probably not, and I really can't think of any, like, popular haunts in Vegas, so maybe that's a market that needs to be filled. Obviously, like, feel free to correct me because I don't live in Vegas, like,
There are a
but
lot outside, like in the Reno area, like out that way. But
yeah.
I don't think that in Vegas per se there are too many cracking haunts like that.
Right, no, you just got your fake ass Zach Bagans museum filled with tchotchkes and antiques that he says are haunted. Like
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, it's little things here and there, but I do know that on a hunt standpoint, the haunted house industry does very well out there because there are a lot of creators and people that I know personally that work on different
Mhm.
scenic artists and things like that, and they reside out there. Their shops are out there, different things like that. But they are very big on distributing and going elsewhere to kind of do their work. I don't think that the intermediate Vegas area is really solid for that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So I guess we'll really just see who their target audience is, but
yeah, we'll
right now it
see.
just
We'll
seems
see.
like the people who are like, "We're going to Vegas. I don't
Yeah,
gamble, so what else can I do?"
right. Let's go to a haunted house,
Haunted
which
house. Yeah.
damn, so down. But at the same time, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm not mad at the idea at all though, and I will go out there and
No,
check.
definitely not.
So we'll see. Now moving on to what we got going on, really on both coasts, but we got to talk about these houses that we have, and because Orlando and Hollywood have announced both bi-coastal IPs, Fallout, Jason Universe, and Five Nights at Freddy's. I wanna I want to break these down because I feel like they are all going to bring a different vibe to the event, but a very good vibe either way it goes. So I want to get your thoughts on Fallout. Where are you sitting at with that one?
So I'm only vaguely familiar with the video game and TV series. Like, I know they exist. I know they have these like post-apocalyptic slash retro aesthetics, which I
Right.
kind of love. Um, I'm here for it. I might have to sit myself down and marathon the TV show beforehand so I know what I'm getting into because I like to
Yeah.
know the lore of things before I go there
Yeah.
and make a snap decision about the house. But I will say I like it already because I'm selfish, and a friend of mine who doesn't typically do haunt season because she's a little scaredy cat wants to go into the Fallout house. So thank you, HHN,
Right. Because
for
now she
getting my
gets to
friend to
go.
go.
Yeah. Now she gets
Yes!
to go. No, that's perfect. I will say Fallout was a property that I was unfamiliar with. And this is not the first time this has happened to me because The Last of Us, I didn't know shit. I didn't. I didn't know anything. And I feel like this time around, I really do want to make sure that I sit down, watch the series before going to the event. So I really do know what's happening because HHN is all about being immersed in the environment, obviously. So it's
Exactly.
you gotta know something when you're going in there. So I think Fallout would be cool. I think these big houses that they do about movies or TV shows, it gives them a lot to work with, a lot to recreate. They get to recreate an entire world, you know. So I mean, I'm cool with Fallout. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun one. I just need to know what
Yeah,
I'm getting into before I get into it. So
exactly. Need to know what's going on before I go up in there. Now,
exactly. So don't be surprised if you get random texts when I finally start watching it because I'm gonna need somebody to talk to about it.
yeah, this is gonna be this house is gonna be it's gonna be interesting. Not bad, but it'll definitely be interesting.
Mhm.
Now, Jason Universe, I'm all tens.
My
I
baby.
don't even
My baby.
Yurdy and I have talked about for a long time. Go back to the basics. Let's go back to the
Yes.
basics. Give us the slashers. People want to see those iconic 80s and 90s horror movies that got them into the genre in a house. Like how badly have
Yes.
we all wanted to see Ghostface in a house? Like you
You
see what I'm
know I
saying?
wanna see Ghostface, like
Man, like we all want to see Ghostface. Like I'm all tens across the board. In fact, cool story. when we were at Epic, we were in line for Monsters Unchained when Jason got announced, and the entire line got amped up. Like everybody was clapping and excited. That was so cool. Just to be in the park and just kind of experience that. That was really cool. But what are your
Energy
thoughts
had to have been
on Jay?
amazing.
Oh yeah,
I'm
right.
yes. Um, because of Jason, other friends of mine are probably coming down from Jersey to go into the Jason house. So thank you, HHN, for keeping me from having to fly to Jersey to visit my friends.
Right. And convince them to get down. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yes. Yeah, but no, Jason, like, admittedly, I'm a Freddy girl. I still think Freddy won and Freddy versus Jason, but I'm
That's an
also
interesting take. That's an interesting take.
he winked at the end when he came out all decapitated. Freddy was not done
Yeah.
fighting.
No, he
I will
wasn't.
I
He
will
wasn't
die on
done.
that hill.
Yeah, he wasn't
But
done.
he was
He
never
definitely
done.
wasn't done.
But while being a Freddy girly, I am also fiercely loyal to the great, tiny state of New Jersey, where the very first Friday the 13th, while it did not feature Jason, was filmed. Like,
Yep.
grew up right outside of that Boy Scout camp. So it is literally like going home. I cannot wait.
Right. It's
I'm
it's
excited to
it's an
see what they
ode to
do.
the homeland.
Yes, yes, it is
Yeah.
my motherland. But also, like,
Yeah.
Jason's legit terrifying. Like,
We were just
scarier than
talking about
Michael
that.
Myers.
Yeah. And honestly, I was thinking about it. I was like, dude, no matter what they do with this house, I hope I have two things. I hope that Jason is an actual giant, whoever they cast as Jason in this house, number one. Because
Mhm.
if he's anything less than a giant, then it doesn't work. And then the
Listen, all those
second
guys that
thing,
played Junior Barmy last year.
yeah. See, and like, and,
Yeah.
and the second thing I thought about was like I can't. I'm losing my train of thought now. But like, he has to be big, but also we need that nostalgic feel. Please do not turn this into the comedy house. This is not the
Right.
property for that.
No.
The only way that this house hits is if it is intense from beginning to end.
Exactly. I need it to be one of the sound stages, like, I'm hoping it's not one of the tents. I need it to be one of
No,
the big
please,
sound
no,
stages.
yeah, no.
I need them to recreate the lake with the dock. I need, like, fog coming up from the water.
Yep,
It could be both beautiful and terrifying at the same time if they do it right,
yep.
and I hope they do it
It,
right.
and I feel like every year when we get the house lineup, there's always one IP where it's like, if they do it right, then this will be
Mhm.
perfect. But if it's off just a little bit, then it won't be. Chucky was one of those. If you do it right,
Yes!
it'll be perfect.
But
But
they leaned too far into the comedy of the TV show.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I for sure thought that they would be casting midgets to play Chucky. I did. I was hoping for it. I was like, oh man, like this is the only way they could sell it. And then you go in there and it's just Chucky on a
Mhm.
TV screen. I was like, Universal, what's
And
going on, man?
puppets.
Y'all don't
I
even,
know, I know. Like,
yeah,
they have all those, like, they have all of those people that are friends with the trolls and the minions. Like, come on, just pull them over to be Chucky.
right.
Like,
Give them the
not that hard.
overalls, get it done.
Exactly.
Well, I will say I'm very excited about these two, but yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's, I am very excited about this for one reason, because I see your
Mhm.
face. I understand. The one reason that I'm excited about this is strictly the detail. I'm going
Yes.
off strictly the detail because this could be the comedy house. If it is, I'm not mad.
See, at Spooky Empire, they were asked specifically if it was a house, and they're still dancing around the subject as to whether or not it's a house.
Right.
So it's like,
True.
what
Very
is it?
true. So my prediction for that, when they announced this and they said FNAF is coming in a completely different, what did they say, like a major different way or something like that?
Something
My
like that,
thought to
yeah.
that, yeah, My thought to that would be that it will be a house, but it will be interactive. Like you may have to
See, I would
pay
love that.
for that's the only way I can think of it. Like you're in the game, when you go in there, you and your group, you're the security guards. So
Yes.
maybe in the Universal app, they may open a portal where you have to sign up for a certain time, or like just something like that. Because I don't know how else it could be different.
Yeah, I've talked with a couple of other people about this before, actually not that long ago, and I think the interactive element would be the only way you could really do it justice. But, like,
Right.
it would be really cool if they did an escape room type of thing. I don't know
That'd
how
be
you would
cool.
manage that at an event, but, like, just something where there are stakes, where there's tension, something to get your heart racing a little bit
Yeah.
to where you actually do feel like you're the night security guard and, oh man, there's, like, Springtrap right there. It could
Right.
be good if done well.
Exactly. That's what I think. Because the only other thing I could think of is maybe if they don't do Freddy and Chica and all of them as animatronics, then they put actual actors in the costumes. But if
Right.
that's the case, I don't know if that's a good selling point for it to be coming to Horror Nights in a different major way. Like I just,
What do you think about the possibility because at the Spooky Empire panel, they had said something along the lines of, like, they will look exactly how they're supposed to or whatever it is. What are your thoughts that they would do an overlay at one of the restaurants?
I could see that. And
Right?
not
Like,
only
take
could
over
I see
things or
that
something.
exactly, and it would play into the storyline of what Five Nights is. Because
Yeah,
they're gonna have to do something out of the box
exactly.
because the wording's out there now. So I don't, but that's the only thing I think of now. You said something that kind of triggered me to think about this. You said I don't know how they would manage something like that at an event. So what if and I wouldn't be a fan of this, but I could see this
Mhm.
happening. Depending on how extra and how majorly different this is from what they're saying, there could be an upcharge for that house for crowd control reasons and things like that, especially if it is something interactive. And I don't want people to be caught off guard by that because I do think that if they go that route, we could definitely be looking at, you know, Five Nights being an extra upcharge type of attraction that they're marketing.
Right, and I mean, quite frankly, they would have to do something like that just because
Mhm.
the wait times would be so insane that I can't even imagine how many people would go there specifically for that house and then spend their whole entire night either in that line or pissed off because the line got capped off.
Right. And also, you got to think about how many people would stand in that line because we know how long the lines get at the event, but how many
Oh,
people
yeah.
would hang out in that line and miss out on all the other houses that night? Like you know,
Right.
those are things to definitely think about.
Or like a virtual queue. Obviously, they have the capability to do virtual queues.
Yep.
Hmm.
I kind of see that happening. Not only that, not only because they said it's going to be different, but also you got to think people have been asking for this property for at least 3 years now.
Years.
So
Years.
now that
Yeah.
it's happening, everybody's coming down for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think we've seen any Five Nights merch, even with the release.
No. No, that's why I'm inclined to
Yeah,
think that it's not a house because they announced the house, the merch gets rolled out into the store by Born, everybody
right.
buys it,
Yep. Everybody
there's no
buys it.
merch yet.
Yep. See, what about a what about a show?
I was actually just thinking that. Because they used to have the Lagoon show, so they have space for other shows.
Right. They have space for other shows. It's definitely possible. Um, I don't know, man. This is gonna be interesting. And for
Yeah.
all of you watching, just think about the fact that these are just 3 houses. This is the very beginning. They haven't even given us everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and then when they finally tell us what Freddy's is, like, we can all look back and laugh at how violently wrong we are.
oh yeah,
Like,
because
it's gonna be
that's
great.
what that Universal's great at that. They are great at keeping you on your toes and then doing something
They
completely different
are.
and being like, "Oh, psych."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
thought you had it. You didn't even have it.
JK.
Right. No,
Like
for real. So we got to talk about the big news from this week. We've got these IPs. We're
Yes.
excited about that. But this right here has me more excited than any of these IPs. And that is El Artista. When they announced this as Spooky
So
Empire,
excited.
first off, them announcing
Mhm.
this as Spooky Empire was some gangster shit to me. I
Oh,
really
yeah,
like that
yeah.
because usually an original, we're gonna drop the post, let you all speculate about what it is, and we'll move on and drop the next one. But the fact that they gave this one the time of day kind of lets me know that this one is very important to whatever they're trying to portray this year with the event.
Yes. Yes. I agree, like, this is some icon energy.
Hmm.
In both the sense it is iconic, but also just the fact that the way they laid out the story, they brought out El Artista to do his
Right.
monologue. The whole rollout is just like, "You wanted gothic horror? We are giving you gothic horror."
The rollout was 100% on point.
It was beautiful. It was
It was on
beautiful.
point. It was on point. I will say, so I have been a fan of every house that they have done that dives into Latin lore in any kind of way. I was a fan of Fiesta de Chupacabras a few years ago.
That
I've
was a
been
good
through
one.
both Monstros houses. So when they dropped this, I was already excited. But then when they told the story behind it, I was like, not only is this exciting, but this is really creative too. Like,
Yes.
this is different.
Yeah, I found myself Googling, like, 1800s Spanish art to see what they might be using as references, and I'm just so excited, like,
Yeah.
ah,
I do feel like this one might have the potential to be talked about as original of the year. I do feel like this has the potential to be that, every year we have that one visual
yeah.
house that's just like, and I don't know. I just feel like this one might be the one already. I know it's early and we haven't gotten any other, houses yet, but I don't know, man. This one's striking a nerve. I feel like this one might be big.
So, between knowing the story and already sort of throwing myself into the art of the region and the era, knowing that the creative team was also the team behind Blood Moon and, like, Dead Man's Pier, I'm just like, "Okay, I know I'm expecting layers, extreme world building." Like, we're gonna be getting put through it, and I cannot wait. Like,
Yeah.
houses by that team in particular never disappoint. Never.
No, that team, that specific team,
I
they
love
are
them.
very good about, like, I will tell you this though. This is just like you said, Blood Moon, which I didn't even get to go through Blood Moon because I didn't go to Orlando that year.
Oh,
And I'm
Blood Moon
pissed.
was
I'm
beautiful.
still mad. I'm still mad. Like, we went to Hollywood that year, so I got
Mhm.
Monsters of Latin America Part 1 and Holidays in Hell and different, and it was great.
Those sound
But
like fun too, though.
oh yeah, they were awesome. They were awesome. Like, no qualms at all. Definitely some of my favorite houses. But like you said, with that team, they're very immersive. I will tell anybody who's listening, if this is your first HHN, make time to go through this house more than once, because you're not going to get it all on the first rip.
No,
Go through it more. Yeah,
no.
definitely go through more than once. Like it's imperative to go through more than once, because what they said at Spooky Empire about the story. Did you hear what they said about Sergio, who is the main character? He's the artist, I think. And they said
Mhm.
that there is a beginning, a middle, and an end to this story. And right now, we only know the beginning. They're gonna play up his character. They're saying he's not an odd fellow or a jack. So no, he's not an icon. But what they are saying is that his story is gonna play a part in the event. It's gonna play a part around the park. And it's gonna be up to you to go through and kind of decipher what you think that this may be. Now, I don't know about you, but from hearing that, I feel that this is just part one of a story that we're just now starting.
That definitely does sound like, "Hey, there is more if this has enough positive reviews, is well loved by the fans, we will revisit
Right.
it." Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely what that tells me as well.
And I got a little too excited when I saw that. I was like, oh shit, this is perfect. Like I'll be going through
So
this
good.
house quite a few times because I obviously I want to immerse myself in all the houses, but this one
Mhm.
has enough plot around it that like you're gonna have to go through more than once. You're gonna have to go through more than once.
I I already wanna book my lights on behind the screams tours, like, I need to get in this
Yeah,
house. I need to get all up
yeah,
in its guts, so then when HHN actually starts, I can appreciate the house and let my brain
right,
go and just be scared, so I'm not just loving every single detail instead of letting the scare actors scare the crap out of me. Like
right, exactly. Because you still have the scares, but you really want to know the lore. I will say I'm hoping that there's some merch for this because I'm the way that they rolled this out the other day. I'm all in on supporting it
yeah.
right now. Like I'm all in.
Mhm.
So especially if how Monsters of Latin America went the last couple years, Fiesta de Chupacabras, like they're 3 for 3. So
Yeah, those are all
I'm like, let's go.
incredibly good houses. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
So that I definitely I've seen some stuff online. People are like early contender for possible original house of the year. I'm like, we'll see. Because for me last year, that was Triplets of Terror. For me personally.
Yes.
I loved Triplets of
I still
Terror
think about
last
that
year.
house a lot too.
Yeah,
That was my favorite.
it
It
was
was my
good.
favorite. I'm still really sad they didn't do one of those, like, Discover Universal podcast episodes for Triplets of Terror, especially because they had the podcast room. Like,
Yeah, they could have done that.
the
Yeah.
story had yeah, you could have had, like, the fake podcast as the podcast for the house. Missed opportunity there because a
Definitely.
lot of people, if a lot of people that they didn't, like, ask somebody beforehand or take the tour, I had to answer questions for people about what was going on in the house because they didn't really know. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Listen, like, this house goes
We
hard."
were my biggest thing, I if there was one thing, like you said, there's one thing that I would have changed about that house, and that would be that instead of the queue line for that house being so largely outside, that they have it in the soundstage, just like they did for Monstros last year,
Yes!
and play the podcast with the storyline through the speakers the whole time, so everybody knows exactly what they're walking into. I feel like that's the only place they lost.
Yes. I remember you told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, we
that's the
talked about that in
only
February,
thing.
and
Yeah, like so that they got to figure
yeah.
that out. But if they ever run it back, cool. So that'll be perfect. Now I will say we have some takeaways from Spooky Empire, and the biggest takeaways there would be they have said, and I wish I remembered everybody's name. I've been, online just trying to
Mhm.
do my research and try to catch everything. But takeaways from Spooky Empire from the HHN panel. First thing, let's talk about they are going for a gothic overall theming of the event this year. And from what they're saying, they want to make sure that the entire park feels that. They don't want any empty spots. So they're calling for stained glass windows, which is why we have that merch, that collectible where you can get all the IPs, and then they're
Mhm.
calling for gargoyles and werewolves and all kinds of things like that. So they're going very old school European horror this year, is what they're saying. And I'm about it. I think this is perfect.
Yeah, I I'm also very all about this because it does sort of take
Yeah.
horror back to its roots, and gothic horror is beautiful, and I love things that are both beautiful and scary, but and this is a good but, it's not a bad but it has me wondering what the other original houses are going to look like, if they're going to have a similar theme of European-inspired dark gothic horror, if
Mhm.
everything is supposed to have this immersive through line.
Right.
And it also kind of reminds me of the Oddfellow year where he was everywhere. Like, they were sort of
Yeah.
dipping their toes into the immersion, and if you knew where to look, you were seeing Oddfellow in the houses, you were seeing Oddfellow in the scare zones, and I loved that. So if this is
Yeah.
even remotely like Oddfellow's year, I already love it. Like, it's gonna be a great time for me.
And I feel like with the Oddfellow year, that was the year that I did not go to Orlando, but still just seeing how he was incorporated in everything, like even through just watching YouTube videos, you can
Mhm.
see how thoroughly like immersed this guy, the Oddfellows
Yeah.
character was, everything. I feel like they need to do that every year with a different property. I feel like they tried to do it last year with Sinister and Surreal, but I feel like we got that a little prematurely. That's just my thought. I could be wrong. I just feel like there's a lot of gray, like empty holes there that still need to be filled
Yeah.
surrounding Sinister and Surreal.
Yeah, I enjoyed them, but I think that maybe a few more years to let them bake a little
Right.
bit would have
Yeah.
been preferable. Yeah.
Would
Like,
have been better. Yeah. And another thing that they talked about was Nightmare Fuel. We all know and love Nightmare Fuel. I have the whole playlist on my phone. Like Nightmare Fuel
it's
was
a
dope.
good
I enjoyed
playlist.
it. It's so cool, man. But what they're talking about this year is that Nightmare Fuel is to return, but they are running a possible different approach. And from research that I did hear that they are talking about working with a different team. And that's really all they gave to us. So I don't know if that means no Fuel Girls this year, or I don't know. I'm not sure how deep that really goes, but they're calling for a different approach with a different team. So Nightmare Fuel, the show, will
Huh.
still be there, but I don't know how much of a nocturnal circus we're getting ready to get this time around.
That's that feels kind of weird because
I agree.
it just felt like the Nightmare Fuel show was an extension of the Fuel Girls as their Cirque squad. Like, what I don't know what they technically call themselves, but, like, it just felt like it was an extension of their brand.
Right.
So, like, if they're mm, mm,
Right. Exactly. And
now you
and
can
this
have
is all
Nightmare Fuel
subject to
without the Fuel
change.
Girls.
Like the Fuel Girls
Yeah.
could end up being there, but as of right now, it just seems a little. It just seems a little unorthodox right now. We don't really know where it's going. And to be honest with you, to go back to what we said earlier in the episode, this just has to do with kind of the weird rollout of events that we're
Right.
getting right now. It hasn't it's thrown off. So I think that's a big part of why we don't really know as much as we were hoping that we would know, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, I'm surprised we're still speculating this heavily this close to the start of the season.
Right, right. We're yeah,
Like
we're because at this point, I do see a turning point, and we'll talk about it, in a second. But
Mhm.
it's getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late. So we'll see what
This is
happens.
me this is giving me, like, in high school, not writing a paper until the night it was due. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, this is due at midnight, and we got a few hours. Like,
get it together.
yeah.
Exactly.
And the last thing that was asked, and I just thought that this was cool. I know people talk about this all the time, but they confirmed that Horror Nights is not expected to return to Islands of Adventure. I don't. This hasn't happened for a very long time. That it was at Islands.
Right.
I think they said it was there for 3 or 4 years, but they said the reason that it will not return is really because the Islands is just too well themed, and it's going to be hard for them to push anything else in the midst of all those themes. And I completely understand. Like, imagine them trying to put a house in Dr. Seuss world. Like, it just doesn't.
Right, like, you would have to cover up a lot of stuff to keep Dr. Seuss's estate from getting
Right.
really mad.
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't,
Yeah.
I know people they want them to expand the event so that it's on both sides. You can go to studios and do some houses, you go to islands and do some houses, but islands just does not present that opportunity anymore. And
No.
it's not
No.
supposed to. Islands is its own thing, and it feels different from studios when you go over there.
It really does. It's a whole different vibe. And while part of me is sad that I will never experience the whole Jurassic Park is completely a scare zone where nobody is safe, I understand. Like,
Because that would be great. While with Velocicoaster rolling at night, oh man, that'd be perfect. That'd be
that
perfect.
I would be the
Yeah,
happiest ever, but it makes sense as to why it would be extremely difficult to effectively pull off a haunt
yeah,
at a
yeah.
heavily
It's
themed
just
area
you know,
like that, like Iowa.
yeah. I don't think it's gonna happen, y'all. It would be nice if it did. We would be there, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And
No.
so this kind of brings us into a last couple of things here. But Damian Leone's Terrifier is expected to be the next announced IP house for Halloween Horror Nights 34. Now, I have seen plenty of construction updates and things like that from Hollywood, but I haven't heard as
Mhm.
much about this from Orlando. Do you know anything about this being bi-coastal, or is this just going to be in LA?
Um, well, it looks like on the spec maps that the icon that they think represents Terrifier, which like trash bags, because Art carries around this trash bag, looks like
Right.
it's on both of them, but
Okay.
I haven't heard anything. But also with Orlando, everything's indoors. They can work on it from November to whenever they want. Like as soon as one house is struck, they can start building the next one if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's a
Very
lot
true.
easier for them to keep stuff under wraps. Whereas
Yeah.
out in Hollywood, they don't even have room to build a new restaurant without tearing something down.
Man, that's why I love Hollywood though, because they don't even try to keep anything.
Yes.
It just
No.
is what it is. If you want to stoop, go spoil it for yourself. Like Hollywood is just kind of like, this is where it's at. This is where it's gonna be. We know
Yeah.
you
They're like, what
guys
do
are,
you expect?
yeah, we know you guys are flying drones over, taking pictures. So it is what it is. Like, you
They're
know,
like, we're too busy making real movies to give a shit about what you think for Halloween Horror Nights.
that's really what they're saying. And oddly enough, because I love Horror Nights Orlando, but Hollywood, there's something about the difference, and this is gonna sound real corny, but like there's something about the difference
Mhm.
between the upper lot and the lower lot. At night, the view you get going down there, you can see all the strobe lights in the haunted houses when you're going down into the lower lot. That's a cool view. I would urge anybody to go out there and check it out if you can make it. Like it's It's perfect.
I mean, that view during the day is already perfect, so I can't even imagine, like, horror nights in full swing.
Oh yeah,
That's what dreams are
yeah.
made of right there,
That's
like
what I'm saying. I think we stayed. We would come up, do the houses in the upper lot, shoot right back down to the lower lot, and just hang out. It's a party.
that's probably
It's a
what I would do.
party down. Yeah, during HHN. And so, last but not least, and we got this right before I had set everything up, so I had to throw this in here. But you know what? This is important, so I'm gonna make this a little bigger here for a second. But we got to talk about this because
I wanna
Horror
see.
Nights. You saw the tweet. Everybody saw the tweet today,
Yes.
and they tweeted, "Who wants a spooky week?" What do you think? What do
They
you
better
think?
not be teasing me. They better not be teasing me. Like, the
Yeah,
if they're giving me a spooky week, that means I better get some more announcements other than, like, "Here's an announcement for an announcement for an announcement," trolling me, trolling you, trolling all of us like they've been doing
like
this whole
they've been doing all year and doing what they do
Like,
best.
on one hand, I love the trolling that they do. It makes me laugh, especially when, like, people actually get offended by it because it's like, what do you
Oh
expect
yeah,
from Horror Nights? Like,
because you can't get offended by it. This is what they do, and they do it all year long. They do it all year long.
exactly. Exactly. They troll me on Threads sometimes. I'm just like, "Huh, oh, you." Like, I move
Yeah,
on with my life. But
yep,
do not ask me if I want a spooky week if you're not going to deliver on giving me a
yeah,
spooky week.
exactly. I feel like this late in June, I feel like if this is a spooky week, like they're saying, and you really have to throw ifs, you have to throw the hypotheticals in there with HHN
Right,
because
right.
they can
They
tweet
love
that and give us
loopholes.
nothing. Yeah, they
Yeah.
can give us nothing this week. But
Yeah, like, tomorrow they could be like, "Oh, just kidding, I don't feel like it."
yeah, literally, yeah. Just kidding. Nah,
Yeah,
we may do it tomorrow, and
yeah.
you know it'll be interesting. I'm wondering if we get more originals this week, like they did last year, where we got 6 originals in 6 days. I don't
Yeah,
know because that was
yeah.
crazy.
By
I
the
can
end of
I
this alleged spooky week, I expect to be that Vince McMahon meme where he's just, like, progressively like, "Whoa," like, I
right
need my face to
exactly.
melt. Like
We will see what happens. I think that's kind of where it's at. They got us on our toes today, which if it doesn't happen tomorrow, if it doesn't happen tonight, at least we know that something is coming. There's something coming.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like we'll get some stuff this week, I feel. Um, is there any way before we close it out, any way that our audience can find you? Where's the easiest way for them to check in with you, follow your profile?
So I'm kind of all over the place on social media, but you can predominantly find me on Instagram. Handle is Weird.wild.wonderful with a bunch of periods in between the words because I am a recovering scene kid. So like
It'll be in the description. Make sure y'all go
I'll
follow
admit
her.
it. It'll be in the description, but you can find me on Instagram. I love spooky season. You'll see me doing all types of haunt shenanigans come August,
Oh
I
yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to pick up. What haunt events will you be at this fall?
This fall, HHN Hallow Scream in both Tampa and Orlando. And there are some really good local haunts in Florida, namely Sir Henry's. I also like Fear
Sir
Reach in
Henry's.
Tavares. Fear Reach is a good one. They're relatively newer. Tales of Terror is also kind of newer, and they are adult only and like adult.
Okay.
It's interesting.
No,
It's
no kids.
interesting. Like
No kids.
no kids, no kids. They check IDs and everything. Like you have to fill waivers out. It's pretty intense. And I kind of want to do Undead in the Water this year, which is down in Tampa, and it takes place on like an aircraft carrier.
Oh shit.
It
I've never
looks
heard of
really.
that.
I'll send it to you later. I'll send it to you later. But if it's a haunt in Florida, chances are you will find me there,
Yeah,
and
we
maybe
were.
even at the end of this year.
Hey, there you go. Yeah,
Hey.
we talked about going to Sir Henry's last season, and it did
Mhm.
not work out because they wanted us to come down. We wanted to go down to be a part of media night, but
Right.
media night lined up not even 5 full days before we were supposed to be down there for horror nights. So
Ooh.
it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. I will say, from a toxic icon standpoint, for any of you who follow us here and don't know what toxic icon is, my other platform that is really all about behind the scenes lifestyle of a haunt actor. We take the cameras on the road, we go act at other haunted houses, and we document our experience. That's the biggest thing that we do. In studio episodes also, definitely go check those out. But we will be at Wicked World Haunted Scaregrounds in Lexington, Kentucky. We will be at Scarefest weekend. We will hopefully be at Erebus Haunted House in Pontiac, Michigan. So we've got a few haunted houses that we plan on showing up and suiting up for and joining the crew on some scares. So a lot of cool stuff coming up this fall. And of course, Horror Nights, all the stuff, all the stuff. And we're also going to do Not Scary Farm this year. We did it last year too, but we're going to do that again this year. So that'll be pretty cool. We love that event too. So should be dope.
Hell yeah.
Well, I appreciate you for hopping on Dead Man's Mic. You're always welcome on
Of
here.
course.
Be talking about horror nights
Anytime.
365 days a year. Is what we do. It's what we do. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. Make sure you guys follow her. All her information will be in the description. Follow Toxic Icon. That'll be in the description. Follow everything. Check out everything. And last but not least, GhoulieCon Horror Convention is coming up in about 3 weeks. Covington, Kentucky. For any of you horror lovers in the Midwest, you want to hear an HHN panel live featuring myself, Craig, who cannot make it tonight, the Doom Buddies, Pretty Killer Podcast is going down. So make sure you all buy your tickets. The link to that will be in the description as well. And we will see y'all soon for another episode. I really appreciate you for hopping on, and keep rocking with us. Dead Man's Mic, and we out of here.